Hello, everybody. Welcome to our workshop today on how to get prospects to say yes faster. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Ryan Burke. If you haven't met me before, I am the Director of Customer Education at Duda. My team works on the university, the support portal. We're involved in these workshops as well. So excited to be on today. Joining me is Shane Hodges from the Camel. Shane, hello and welcome.
Hey, Ryan, how you doing?
I am doing quite well today, quite well. Thank you so much for being on with us today.
That's all right. It's 2 a.m. where I am.
Yes, yeah, I know it. Shane is up bright and early to help us out, so we really appreciate that. And
that's good.
So thank you for being on.
Hey, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Well, we have an exciting topic to talk about today. This week, as some of you may know, we've been hosting a series of Duda University workshops in conjunction with the launch of the university last month. So if you have not checked it out yet, we encourage you to do so. You can access it using your Duda credentials at university.duda.co. And in fact, we just launched a brand new course last night on dynamic pages in collections. So I know that is a hot topic for many people. It's a really cool, really powerful feature on the Duda platform. So do go and take a look at that course if it's something that you're interested in. As far as today's topic, we've asked Shane to join us and share some tips around how to close a deal, how to provide the perfect pitch that's going to really resonate with your clients and convert prospects into clients. And so, Shane, you have some great information for us today, and I'm going to pass to you and let you kick things off.
Okay, thanks very much, Ryan. And I'd just like to say g'day to everyone. And I think all of you, well, most of you would know me from Facebook. I'm the CEO of the Camel.co. And what can I say? I'm an Australian, but we're based in the Philippines. Been here since 2013, and it's 2 a.m. in the morning, and I'm on fire. I'm coffeeed up. I'm ready to go because we're going to talk about my favourite subject, which is closing a deal. And it's something that, as the slide says, that we're all super excited, because we want to get people to say yes faster, right? Because that's what it's all about. And unless we get people to say yes, we're not going to do a deal. We're not going to publish sites. We're not going to do SEO or SEM. It's going to be tough. Now, there's some great methods, because what you want to do is you want to accelerate it. I was talking to a Duda Pro the other day, and he was telling me he's had one deal that it's been 6 months on the go, all right? Where he started talking to the client 6 months ago, and it's still not a deal. And I know myself with some of the migration deals that we get hit with people. They're all excited for 1 minute, and then all of a sudden, 3 months later, it's dragging on and dragging on. So the whole idea of the exercise is we want them to say yes faster. So like anything else, there's got to be ways to do that. So there's some traditional ways, okay? So if we look at that first slide, Ryan. There you go. Now, these are what people normally do, all right? They'll put something on their website, or they'll put something, send out a text, or they'll send out a newsletter, and it's got the big mega sale up to 80% off, and it's got the words urgent, 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 right? And it's got something like an empty shelf with 50% off. That's what people traditionally normally do, which works, and it's fine. I mean, I do it myself, right? Once a month we send out a newsletter, and it's got, super sale, crazy sale, whatever you want to call it. But it doesn't work all the time. And it can get to the stage where you'll send yourself broke if you keep offering mega urgent sales of 80% off. And it also is a problem if you consider saying last one in stock, almost out of stock, only one appointment left and all this sort of stuff. It only lasts for a certain amount of time. And what you're trying to do is just promote this sense of urgency, which it's good, but it doesn't last all the time. What we want to be able to do is have something that's more permanent. But, what we've got with that is a couple of problems. So the next slide, if we look at it, rolling. Here we go. Right. Now, there are some not so good methods we do where you want to create a sense of urgency. Like we've got a little guy here where he's stolen someone's credit card, and what he's trying to do is create a sense of urgency for them to get into personal security and look after their data. So he said, right, I've stolen your credit card and away you go. And then you've got someone that's being chased by a bomb. That will definitely create a sense of urgency. So in this case, the 50% off, the while stock lasts, the massive email blast, really in a way, they're like someone throwing a bomb behind you and you're running, or someone stealing your credit card and trying to get you excited about something else. It can backfire on you, and it's really only short term. And again, it costs you money. Every time you discount something, you're lowering your revenues, right? And what you can do is you can take it to the next level, which if you put up the next slide, is you've got to look at the key to the whole thing. What you want to do is you want to get people to make a decision faster, right? How do you do that? You've got to have a process, okay? So if you don't have a process, if you're continually pushing people with discount, what you're going to do is look like the next two guys, which is on the next slide.
The professional, the pressure.
The professional. Okay, these are the two guys that if you don't do it properly, you're going to end up looking like these guys. First one is Harry Clegg, car salesman, right? Where if you're continually saying to people, hey, you've got to do it now, COVID's here, business is going to go broke, right? You press hard, sign 5 copies, 50% off. If you don't do it now, blah, 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 blah. You're going to come across exactly as that guy dressed with the chicken. Actually, believe it or not, I used to have one of those 50 years ago. that suit, I remember having one of them. A Saturday morning suit, we used to call it, right? But the other thing you can do is you can turn it around where if you don't do it properly, if you don't do it with a process, you'll end up where that client just feels so pressured, right? They don't want to do a deal at all. They've got this thing in front of them that says, oh, you better sign today or else the deal's going to be different tomorrow, right? We don't want to come across as that. What we want to do is become professional. And the way that we'll do that, right, is by putting a process in place, all right?
Shane, it sounds like not only do you not want to be this guy, but it's just not sustainable. You can't have continued growth operating in such a kind of haphazard way. It's expensive and it's not really going to generate long-term results.
Yeah, I mean, if you see it, Ryan, a grand opening sale. That's the craziest thing of all time, right? Because you've just spent all this money to build this business and you want to offer people, 50% off. It's not sustainable. And if you continually offer discount to get people to say yes faster, you won't be in business very long. So what we want is the process, as I call it, how Hodgie sells, right? So we're making higher revenues all the time, and there's a secret of success in doing it. That's what we want to share.
Yeah, exactly. The gym by my house, the gym that I go to, they've been open for like 2 years. I think probably close to 2 years. They still have a sign out that says grand opening. And every time I look at it, I just like roll my eyes. Please, you're still calling yourself a grand opening and trying to get members that way?
Yeah, it's crazy. I see it all the time. The one I really hate, grand opening sale. I hate that.
Yeah.
Because it's a sky is falling promotional deal. You're setting yourself up to fail.
Right.
All right.
So
So,
what should we be doing then, Shane? Here's
okay, so
your
we
next
don't
slide.
want to look like, okay, we don't want to look at those guys, right? What we want to
Yeah.
do is we want to look at 4 points, because what we want is a happy atmosphere. And we want to turn our prospects that they're excited to become clients, which is that, if you look at that next picture, that's what we want. Like that.
So your
Everyone
4
throwing
points.
hands up. Yeah, the 4 points. So let's get to the 4 points. We've got to get to yes faster. And the 4 points are: 1, deal with real prospects only. 2, discover the problems they need urgently solved. Create a sense of urgency using the problems that they told you about. And number 4 is close the sale. Now, the secret behind all this is qualifying them properly. Any problem in a sale, anytime you struck a problem, the issue will always come back because you didn't qualify them properly. That's the number 1 mistake that people make. So when you're trying to create a sense of urgency, the only reason it's difficult for you is you didn't qualify it in the first place. But the key to qualification is getting the client to tell you what the urgency is, getting the client to tell you what they need, not you tell them. If you tell them, it's a lie. That's how they treat it in their head. If they tell you, they will never go back on it. They'll turn around and they'd be embarrassed. So the whole idea behind it is to get them to tell you. But number 1 thing as well, deal with real prospects only. You know, a lot of people make it an uphill battle. You know, we hear it every day. A good example, like someone's got a WordPress site and they're so happy with it, and it's 3 months old, okay? And it's just a great website, and it's perfect in their mind, and they're ranking page 1 on Google and all. You know what you do? Thank them very much for their time, walk out and go to another shop, all right? Because you're wasting your time, because it's not a real prospect. They've got no problems, they've got no issues. You know, it's like someone with a brand new car. You're not going to try and sell them another car straight away because they're happy. If you do social media and their Facebook page has got posts up every couple of hours, and they've got lots and lots of people that are liking their page, and they're happy and they're converting customers, go walk into another building. Wow, what's that noise?
I don't know. We got some background noise coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
Is that on your side, Shane?
It's not on my side. Everyone's asleep. Okay, that's gone.
Yeah, they should be.
Hey, that was crazy.
There.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that was strange.
the number 1 thing is deal with real prospects. Don't try and deal with somebody that they're happy. Right? And there's no chance at all of creating any sense of urgency. There's no chance of showing them stuff. Like if they're a WordPress customer and they've got plugin problems, hosting problems, perfect. Go and talk to them. Right? If they're a company that's got local SEO and they're ranking page 653, go and talk to them. Right? It's very difficult to create a sense of urgency. It's very hard to close a deal when someone is not a real prospect. But again, it comes back to qualification. When you're asking questions, you'll find out if they're the real deal or not, right? Rather than too many people go in there, Ryan, they start presenting and they don't even know if the guy wants it yet, right? It's crazy. You've got to really start to qualify these people. So number 1, I always put up there, deal with real prospects only, right? Don't make it an uphill battle right from the start.
While this isn't a prospecting workshop per se, it sounds like this is foundational to everything else you're about to talk about. If you don't have real prospects, that's going to be your number 1 issue. You're not going to be closing deals if you're not talking to actual prospects.
Yeah, I mean, the number 1 thing in sales is your closing ratio, right? Now, if you're a really good salesman, your closing ratio should be 1 in 3 deals. If you're really good, it should be 2 in 3 deals. But it's not because they're better salesmen, it's they're better qualifiers, right? That they ask questions from the start even at the prospecting stage, they're checking it out. Is this person an ideal client? Do they need a website, want a website? Do they have problems, right, that you can give solutions for? Because that's what selling's all about. But what tends to happen is that they'll throw the darts at the board on 100 what they consider potential customers, that 95 of them, you've got no hope of selling them something. They have no need, they have no money, they have no time. So you've got to sit there, and again, it's all about qualification. It's the most important part of any selling process, asking questions.
Yep. Okay, so we find the right prospect, not one who is ranking #1 on Google search, has a Porsche in their garage, private jet, 6-pack. We got the right prospect. What comes next, Shane?
Okay, what comes next is you're going to sit down with them and you're going to have a conversation. But again, what I said, you've got to get their urgency, their problems, their worries, all the things that you can use to convert them from being a prospect to a customer. You've got to get them to tell you. And the
So
key
what
to
kind
that,
of questions should we be asking?
okay, I just got to put a disclaimer in there, Ryan. And the disclaimer is these questions I'm going to use, right? They sound a bit clinical, right? What you got to do, the Duda pros, the agencies, they've got to take these, and this is why I've written them all down. They've got to take it and own it, and they've got to adjust it and make it theirs, okay? And otherwise, it's tough. The other thing, you need a trigger. And in this case, people are using COVID as the trigger to create urgency. I'm not, right? I'm over COVID, right? It's just a crazy thing. I don't use a discount to create a trigger. What I'm going to use is revenue, right? In all these questions, it's all about revenue, not my revenue, Mr. Customer's revenue. So if you go to the next slide,
Right.
we can start to look at how do we qualify. Oh, hang on, on with the show.
Okay, there you are.
On with the show. I put that in for you, man. Okay.
Thank you.
So what sort of questions do we ask? All right, we've taken it for granted in this case that we're sitting with Mr. or Ms. Customer and we've had a cup of coffee and they're feeling comfortable and I'm feeling comfortable. We've got to start to qualify them. So we might ask some, little probing questions like, so Mr. Customer, what exactly is it about your current website that helps you most with revenue? Now, why do we ask that? Because we're not going to try and talk our way that we're going to offer something that does exactly what they want. Right? We don't want to promote that. What we want to promote, because that's like the Porsche in the garage. They've already got it. They're already happy. What we want to get into is what they're not happy about. So we need to know, right, what's the smoking gun out there where they say, hey, mine already does that, right? Because, again, people present, they don't ask questions. You've got to ask questions. Another question we might ask is, Mr. Customer, what is it about your current website that does not excite your customers? What do they get bored with? What do they click off the most, right? What is something where you think, my God, that's a waste of a page, right? What is it about your website that their customers don't like? Why do you need that? Because that's what you're going to present to them, what's going to excite their customers. And if you do the normal thing, which is you say, hey, have a look at this. Hey, have a look at that. This is going to be great for your customers. That's you telling them. And there's no truth in that to them, right? You're not the expert about their customers. You're not the expert about their business. You're an expert on websites. You're an expert on SEO. But you need the data from them. And you need them to tell you. So you need to ask the right questions. So
that
you can then
so
say,
key, Shane. I think that seems so important, that distinction, that they are the experts on their customers.
yes,
And you're the expert in SEO, SEM, web design. And so working off of what they understand to be true about their customers, about their business, that seems like a really important point to keep in mind during these conversations.
yeah. I mean, Ryan, if you look at it, If you go to the average agency and everything else, if you look at their Facebook page, every post is 87.5% of mobile users search for a website, and they consider that's important. Well, the customer knows that. That's why he's coming to you. Tell me how this is going to help my customers more. Tell me more about your customers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then you might ask something like, Mr. Customer, if you could make 3 changes to your current website to increase sales, what would those changes be? What tends to happen is that the salesman will say, I've had a look at your website. And you know those spam emails you get and they tell you there's something wrong with this or something, and you throw them away? That's exactly how the customer is thinking when you're telling him, but when he's telling you, he's so excited. Oh, this guy wants to listen to me. He wants to create a solution from my problems. He's not telling me what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah.
Mr. Customer, do you have a favorite website that really closes customers? And what features of that website would you like on your new website? Every single customer out there has got another website they look at and go, I wish mine was like that, right? I wish I had this done, because these guys are not graphic designers. These guys are not, website developers. And they want a way that they look at Harry customer competitor and they think, oh, I wish I could get that on my website. I look at Apple. I love Apple's website. I wish I could have a website that looks like that, because they've forever got something, no matter where you drift, a call to action comes up, a call to action. That's what I want. So if somebody asked me that question, I'd say, oh, I love Apple. Just an awesome website, right? Every customer you have has a competitor or another product or service. They love that. And they will tell you, oh, have a look at this together. Mr. Customer, how important are these changes to your business? What do you think it's costing you in lost revenue? So important to ask that question.
Yeah.
You want to set up a sense of urgency? Ask that last question. What's it costing you to have this yucky pooey EL website? What's it costing you? What's it costing you to lose it? Can you tell me? And they will tell you, oh, the biggest sob stories they will tell you, right? You'll end up knowing that their wife or their husband's leaving and they've got a drinking problem. I tell you, they will just share with you, oh my God, I'm losing 50 million customers a year, because you just asked them. And you've asked them so nicely, right? But the key, Ryan, is it's not enough, right, to just get those answers, right? You've got to ask some more questions so you can set up the sense of urgency. So you ask some more questions, right? So what do we ask? This time we're going to go to Ms. Customer, because we're an equal opportunity presentation, right? Ms. Customer. Now, those are great changes you're looking at for a new website. Can I ask you, what added revenue will you get each week with these changes? Ms. Customer, they're great additions to your new website. Can I ask you, what impact do you think they'll have on your customers? Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer, Ms. Customer, awesome ideas you have, Can I ask you, how much of a difference will those make to your weekly sales? Ms. Customer, will the changes you're looking at make it easier for a customer to order from your website? And what difference will that make to your sales in a month compared to now? So the customer has told you in the first lot of questioning all the information that you require, but you still haven't created a sense of urgency. So in this part is where you start to create the sense of urgency. So they've told you, well, we've got a really pooey website, but there's no call to action. It's really hard to navigate. It's got 850,000 pages. It looks like Wikipedia. Nobody can find anything. It's driving us insane. They've told you all that. But what you've got to do is you've got to find out, well, okay, that's great. I agree. But what do you lose? What business does it cost you? Put a definitive urgency on it. How much money do you lose a week with that problem? How much more money would you be making this month? And if you want to mix it up, you can say, you know what, just out of interest, if you had that website right now, how much of a difference would it make to your business? Can I just ask you, just for a moment, just humor me. If we did that to your website now, if we put those calls to actions in there, how many extra calls do you reckon you would have had today? Can you see what I'm getting at?
That's really powerful. Yeah.
Right.
I like that a lot. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. But if you don't, if you're the one saying to them, and Ms. Jones, once we get this website up and running, you will be getting another 50 calls a day. They're sitting back saying, yeah, I heard that from the other guy.
Right. Yeah, right? It's a subtle shift in thinking, but so powerful. Yeah. Shane, do you typically have this conversation at the same time as the previous slide? Is this all one conversation, or does this tend to happen over the course of a couple of different interactions?
No, it's the process I use, and it's the flow when I'm sitting there and I call it have a cup of coffee discussion, even if I'm on the phone or I'm on Zoom. I present exactly the same way, where I'm rolling into where I want the conversation to go and the information I want to receive. Yeah. So if they tell me, well, Mr. Customer, what feature is it that's really missing from your current website? What is it that's really costing you? You know what? I've got so many bloody pages. They're going through blogs that are 50 years old, and I want to get them to but I don't know how to do it. Hey, just imagine for a moment. Can I just ask you, if we did have that right now, how much difference would it have made sales today? And they will tell you, because they're in, misery loves company, right? And they love to share their problems and issues with you, because this is where you're starting to turn in as their psychoanalyst and are going to help them with their life, right? That you are the expert. This is where it's coming out. So it's just part of the conversation. And as I said, you start to make it yours. These questions become, whoever's listening out there just becomes part of their conversation. But unless you have a process like this, it's just a chat. It's not a sale.
Yeah.
You understand, Ryan? This gives you the information you need to sell.
Yep. Do you use any kind of templates or aids as you're having these conversations to record answers to guide you through the conversation, or has this just become so second nature for you that you don't need any additional documentation?
It's just second nature to me. But I originally learned the road to a sale, which this is part of road to a sale. I learned that when I was 25 years of age, and I actually had it on a little card, right? And it had meet and greet, qualification, presentation, demonstration, overcome objections, close. And I had that sitting under my desk. And I used to always think, if I followed that step, I don't know where you go. But I set up all my presentations that flow this way.
Yeah.
Right. And I will spend so much time collecting data. What did Abraham Lincoln say? Right? If I was going to cut a tree, I'd spend more time sharpening the saw.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what qualification is all about. And if you look at what we're asking, if you look at the normal problems in a selling process, it's because you haven't asked these questions. You don't know. You're working on what you assume. And what do they say? What's assume? You're making an ass out of you and me.
Right.
Yep. So you've got to get the information. You've got to get the data. You could create a little checklist that you can have until it becomes part of your normal business pattern. Right? But if you work it out, it's when you go in, you meet someone for the first time, you'll 9 times out of 10 ask them, so do you come here often? What made you come here in the first place? Have you had the menu? What's your favorite dish on the menu? Why did you like that? In a normal conversation, you will question people like this.
Right.
So all you have to do is you have to take a learnt process and turn it into a professional process. You know, it's normal
Yeah.
and natural. And that's all we're doing is we're just having a conversation in a chat.
Yeah. And you know what skill this requires? And I'm just thinking about this as you're talking. You got to be a really good listener.
Oh, huge. Most people talk too much as well.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Okay.
you're going to take that data, but if you don't listen, and you know what else they do,
Yeah.
Ryan? They interrupt. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The salespeople have a sense of urgency to talk more.
Right.
They should have a sense of urgency to listen more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so number 3, create a sense of urgency using the problems they told you about. Now, this is when you're actually presenting, right, the website, the mock-up, social media plan, Outlook plan. This is when you're actually sitting there presenting it to them. And the key to this, people will never argue with something they told you.
Right.
That is why you ask good questions and you listen for great answers and you use that, right?
Yeah.
And they've just told you a bunch of things, maybe right sitting in front of them or last week, and you're putting the presentation. They've just told you a bunch of things that are really important to them. And what you've got to do now is, first of all, make sure they get involved. That's a little bit of a key. I like people, when I'm presenting a website to them, I like to present it on their laptop or their desktop. I don't like to present it on mine. I'm not the one doing I like them to do it. I'm not the one clicking call to action. I like them to click the call to action, right? I like them to click on the pictures and see where it goes. I get them to do it. I want to start them to feel like they're owning it, that it's theirs. So that was just a little key, right? But let's look at how would we present this to really hammer home the sense of urgency. Mr. Customer, you told me, very important, right? You told me call to action was important to increase your sales. How do you feel about this design? You click on that call to action. Tell me how you'd feel if it was a customer. Can you just click on that call to action there and tell me, do you think that will increase your revenue today? So you ask them to confirm what they told you. That's it. And then you get them to tell you how much more money they will make. And already they're excited. I've got to have this thing. I've got to have this thing. Let's go to another one. Mr. Customer, Miss Customer, you told me you needed a fresh new look to really push sales faster than what they are now. How do you feel about this? Let's go through this design together. You notice the pink and purple spots that you told me were really important? How do you feel about them? How are your customers going to feel about that? Do you think this will be the answer to your sales problem? Is that exactly what you were looking for? Tell me how you feel about that. So all the way through, you're just getting more and more confirmation on all the things they told you, confirming that you are solving their urgent problems with what's sitting in front of them. And to get the hallelujah, thank you, Jesus moment, they have to buy that website. Mr. Customer, you told me online ordering would really make a difference to your sales. Do you think your customers will be happy with this? Can you just click there and just go through the flow? How do you feel about that? Do you think the customers that are buying today will feel much more comfortable? How do you feel about that? Would you change anything about that? Does that answer your needs? Do you think that that will be the revenue generator that you're looking for today? Can you see where it goes? It's confirming what they told you, giving them the solution, getting them involved, and getting them smiling that it's going to make them more money because they told you that's what I need.
Yeah. That's great, Shane. Then you get to step 4.
Okay, let's not make it a main. Yeah, close the sale. Let's not make it a major event. What tends to happen is people make a close a major event where they do this presentation, and then they go, so have we got a deal? That's a major event. So can we start the website now? So would you like me to deliver it tomorrow? So can I have a deposit now? It's a major event close. It should never be a major event. You close off what you're presenting, all right? So it becomes a natural flow. You should walk out of there and people should go, oh, I love that guy. I love that girl. Their timing was so good. I felt so comfortable with them. They really listened to me. That's what you want them to feel.
Yeah.
So how do we do that? Next slide. Okay. Again, this is one of those ones that you read it like this and you've got to change it. You've got to make it yours. But if you flow this way, I guarantee you will close more deals than what you do now. If not, I will give you your money back and away we go. And you didn't pay anything. Okay, so what do? We're doing this presentation. So we just say Mr. or Ms. Customer. And they just confirmed that they told you would create more revenue, make customers happy, which would generate more revenue. All the things they told you, and you have shown them. Now you can finish it off with a question statement to get the show on the road, kids, and you can adjust it to suit your best. So what do I say? Ms. Customer, can I ask you if you're happy with all the designs, the features, the colors that you told me, whatever words you want to use? You told me that they would increase sales. They would increase deliveries, customer satisfaction, right? You told me that. You wait. Don't say anything. When you ask a question, wait. When they come back and they say yes, simply say, our full design and delivery will take 2 weeks. Is that okay? Or would you like those revenues to be coming sooner? They're closing questions that match what you've just done. So, Mr. Customer, you know, we're just showing you through all the designs that you told me you needed these changes. I just want to know, do you really feel now that that's going to increase the sales you're looking for? And shut up. When they say yes, fantastic. You know, our normal delivery is 2 weeks. Is that okay? Or would you like it a bit sooner? You've closed them.
Yep.
Now people say, but Shane, what if they say no? Great. If they say no, you get to go back and start finding out why they're saying no. Right? Well, that's really interesting. There must have been something I missed. I'm so sorry about that. Can we go have a look at this website together? Can you show me what you're not happy about? When customers say no, I get so excited because it's something I've missed. I've missed an opportunity to close something because I didn't listen. Right? I was busy thinking about something for a second. So it's very simple. Ryan, you just take that last paragraph there, Ms. Customer. Can I ask you if you're happy with all the designs? Can I ask you happy with the features? Can I ask you happy with the colors that you told me would help you increase sales, would give you better deliveries? Your customers would be more satisfied.
Yeah.
Is that exactly what you're looking for? And shut up. When they say yes, simply say, you know what, our full design will be ready in about 2 weeks. Is that okay? Make it something simple. Or would you like those revenues to be coming a little bit sooner? Something very simple. They feel very comfortable.
Right.
Rather than, would you like to spend $7,500 today? That's a big close.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I really like this process. The aspect about not making the close a big event makes a lot of sense. I think of a sports analogy there. My dad used to tell me, when you score, when you score, act like you've been there before.
Yeah.
Don't make a big deal out of it. So that's what I thought of when you talked about that. You know, you close a deal, great. You've closed lots of deals, or at least act like it if you have it, and move right into this process. It makes a lot of sense.
And they feel, and honestly, you walk out of there and they will be feeling so happy, so comfortable, because they've told you and you've delivered what they asked for. You've given solutions to the problems that they're identified. They won't fight you. They won't argue with you. They might turn around. The objections will be smaller because they'll zero in on something you haven't listened to. And you go, hey, I'm so sorry. I must have missed something there. And move the laptop and just, can you point out what I haven't got right for you? I really am sorry. Right? Fantastic. Get excited when they say no. Because if you follow this process, the no is not as big. It's smaller. It's a little bit. If you look at the sporting analogy, every sport, it's a process of different little small chunks of things to get to the win. Right? You don't play 100 minutes of football in 1 minute. You play it in a 1 minute blocks. Well, the sale's the same thing. You're doing it in blocks to get to the end where all you got to do is put the last finishing touch on it, sale closed.
Right. Q&A is next. I'll give folks a chance to ask questions. But yeah, that was great, Shane. We got some time left, so that's great. So we can take some questions if we have some. Let's just recap your process again. We'll see how good of a job I did listening. The first step of your process is work with real prospects. The second part is to ask the good questions and create a sense of urgency. Is that correct? Or did I combine two steps there?
It's to find out.
Find out what their real needs are and get them to tell you about their business, about their customers.
Yes.
So then you use that information to create the sense of urgency using the data that they gave you.
Exactly. Never use your own.
Yeah.
You fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
With your information.
Right.
But get
then
them to
you
tell
close the deal.
Yep.
Don't make a major event out of it. I really like that last paragraph of let them tell you, is this going to fix those things that you told me about? Pause, let them answer. You don't speak, wait for them. And then you can move right into, great, we can typically do this in about 2 weeks. Is that going to work for you?
Yes. It's so gentle.
You act like you've been there before.
Yeah. I like your sporting analogy. Right?
Yeah.
It's very true. It's just like falling off a log, but you're making it the same feeling for them. You know, this isn't for you to just spend all this money or pay a monthly fee is a natural thing, and you're so comfortable and happy about it because you've realized your problems. You've told me that if I give you a solution, it's going to make you so much more money. You're going to have a Porsche in the garage and fly in a private jet. You know, it's so much easier, and I love it when it's not a major event. It's a beautiful relationship. Then, Ryan.
Right.
You know, they don't. You know, have you ever bought something and you felt cheated? Right.
Yeah.
And you have.
I hate that feeling.
It's terrible. You don't want to go back there. I mean, the Camel's #1 sales thing is added value services. Why? Because they want to come back to us.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll shut up now. And hopefully there's some questions.
Great. Yeah. Yeah, we have a question from Adam. He is partly clarifying, and then there's a follow-up question. So you are creating a demo site for each prospect between steps 2 and 3.
Yes.
Assuming that is the case, then can you speak to a little bit of how that works?
I'm a great believer in mock-ups and demos. Right? I just love it, and it gives you. It's very difficult to have a website sale in one go, right? Because you've got to remember, I sold websites before we were a fulfillment partner. I sold websites, And I successfully sold websites selling off a mock-up, right, or a demo, whatever you want to call it. And it allows me to go in there, and again, I get them to use their phone or their laptop or their iPad, and I say, okay, Miss Jones, when I was here last time, you gave me all this information. What's important to you? I just want to check that I heard you correctly, and I'm excited for you to see this. Can you just click there, please? And then you just point out on the mock-up those sense of urgency, those features that they told. You're pointing it out, and then you're asking her questions. So when you mentioned earlier on, do you need a prompter? Or the mock-up is your prompter. And you're getting them to agree what's on the mock-up is what they told you, and you're closing the deal off the mock-up. It can just be a PDF, Ryan. It can just be a Photoshop front page, because that's all we use. We don't make the mock-ups in Duda. We make it in Photoshop, and then we make changes, and then we build it in Duda. And all the major agencies that we have, all of them sell off a mock-up now. So, Adam, if you deal with a camel, we make the mock-up for you. If not, just get some, even PowerPoint, mate. You could learn to use PowerPoint and make a PowerPoint mock-up, right? But just demonstrate to the client, hey, you told me this was the feature you needed because it would generate more revenue. How do you feel about that? What sort of feeling? How do your customers feel about that, you think? That'll give you the money you need, will it?
Right.
Do you think that answered that question?
Makes sense.
Uh-huh.
Adam said, great, thanks. So I believe
my pleasure,
you did.
Adam.
Yeah. So, and to clarify, you're not making demo sites, which is part of Adam's question. You're really just making mock-ups. Do you ever make a full-out demo site for maybe a bigger deal, or are you almost always exclusively using just mock-ups?
Always use always. Actually, it made me think that was a very good question. Right? I don't think we've ever done. We do it. I'm just asking Mooney. Every 99.9% of the time we make a mock-up, which is using Photoshop or Illustrator, of a front page that incorporates all the major designs I look for. If I remember back in the day, I didn't have the luxury of a design team. I used to draw pictures. I used to make PowerPoints, but I would just do that. I don't think even, we've got one deal at the moment, which is a massive e-commerce site we're doing for one partner. And we only did a front page mock-up to show the client. And they closed off that.
Yeah. I'll throw one more question at you before we wrap things up. It's about how linear this process is and how cyclical. So you alluded to when you get a no on that last step, then you realize you probably missed something and you go back. So how, this process, how much is it kind of fluid, moving between steps, going back when something's been missed? I mean, ideally, I would assume you can just move right to closing the deal, but do you see some fluidity in this process?
Yeah, once you make it your own and it becomes second nature, right? And it will happen very, very quickly. Where, if you took what I've just shown you now, you'll be selling more straight away, right? But what will happen during a conversation, it's always something you've missed, or during the presentation, the client will think of something else and then offer it to you. So that's not a no. It's just hang on, what about if we change that? How good is that? Because then you can start up another conversation on creating a sense of urgency for what they've just brought up.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of, if something comes up in the conversation, and well, that's fine. If it's a no or a stop, it's just a matter of, I must have missed it. I'm so sorry. Can you just explain the importance of that again to me? Can you just show me what you really were looking at for there? Have you got an example that we can look at together? Right? You find using these questions, especially over the phone, now with Zoom, right? It just makes life so much easier. That if the process gets to a point where it stops, it's usually 99.9. It's like AWS hosting, right? It's usually something you haven't qualified them on, or you haven't listened.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry. How did I miss that? I feel so stupid. Can we just go over that again together? Right?
Yep.
Oh, I'm so sorry I missed that. Right? It just gives you an opportunity, and it also gives you a chance to reset the relationship, because they think, oh, I love this guy or gal. They listen to me. You really care about my needs. Yeah. So if you get a no or you get a stop, fantastic. Be excited. Just go back and sharpen the saw again.
Yeah. Mark has a question on that same topic. I'll try to answer it, and if I am incorrect, please correct me, Shane. But Mark was asking, so he's essentially asking, when is the scoping process? You must do that prior to a mock-up, so you must have spoken extensively with the client before that. And I think, if I'm understanding correctly, we're talking about the mock-up being created between steps 2 and 3. So step 2 was that initial essentially discovery process, right? In that first discussion, based on the data you get there, that's when you work on a mock-up and you bring that back to them in the third step, when you're working on creating this sense of urgency. Is that right, Shane?
The third stop is when I'm presenting it.
Okay.
Right. So I've found out their needs. I've found out their desires. I found out the trigger for the sense of urgency, or numerous sense of urgencies. I've gone back. I've created the mock-up, where I've got the Camel or Olive Street or whoever to create the mock-up. And then I've gone down to present and close. Myself, I class a presentation, that's when I'm closing. There's no going back from that. Right? If the objections are going to come out during that presentation, I'm going to drag them out, I'm going to answer them, and I'm going to close the deal, because that's what I'm there for.
Gotcha.
All right.
So two main meetings with the client then.
It's 2 main meetings: qualification, presentation, and presentation and close go together.
Gotcha.
You know, so really, to me, there's only, there's prospecting and finding them, but the 2 most important things are qualifying, presenting, closing, because they're together.
Yep. Right. I missed a question earlier from Paul, who was asking if this is your discovery process, and I think we kind of addressed that question. Your qualification step, that step 2, that conversation is essentially the discovery process. Is that right, Shane?
Correct.
Okay.
And I want to discover as much as I can, Ryan. By the time I finish, I want to know who their mother and father was, where they were born, and people love the sound of their own voice. The more you let them talk, and the more you listen to their stories, they'll leave you there forever. People say, I've only got 15 minutes. Watch me stretch it into an hour and a half.
Yep. Yeah. Follow-up question from Mark. What if there is no sense of urgency?
Well, you've chosen the wrong customer. Go back to step 1.
Back to step 1.
Yeah.
Guys, talk to real prospects. So that was your point with the person who just launched a WordPress site and they're very happy with it. That's not a real prospect in that situation.
No, it's a waste of time. There's so many websites out there that are real prospects. There's no need to waste your time on ones that are not. Right? you can look at it yourself, and you know before you walk in the front door what the sense of urgency is going to be. Right? So if you're looking at someone's website, it'd be the same if someone works for Weebly and they're trying to get a Duda customer to come over. Well, it's very hard to create a sense of urgency, right? Because they're happy. How can you get them urgent? It's impossible unless you're going to give it to them for free. But even then, that mightn't work. So in answer to his question, go back to step one. Speak to the right customers first.
Yeah. Really important. Really sets the foundation for all the rest of the steps that follow. If you're not talking to a real prospect, whatever you do in those additional steps almost does not matter.
No, it's just a conversation. It's not a sale, it's a chat.
Right. Follow-up question from Adam. Do you recommend having the same person do both of those meetings, the qualifying and then the presenting? Or will you have a sales team do all the qualifying and then bring in a closer to do that presentation?
Tough question. I used to be, back in the day, I was just a closer, where I would be that person you would bring in. And what I would do is I'd actually follow the same process. That the closer has to have a relationship. And what the closer then does, hey, Mr. Smith, I'm so happy you got on well with Mr. Salesman here. I'm so happy he's excited about the relationship. I've just met you. I just want to check for my own needs. And then you go through the process again, not as long-winded, right? But you start getting some feedback and then you close the deal. Right? You just can't
if you do bring in a
jump
closer, right? If you do use a closer, they need to establish some kind of rapport with the customer before going into their presentation and the close.
Absolutely. That was a good way of putting it. Rapport is a great word, right? Because if they go in there and just try and, slap them around a bit to sign up, the customer's feeling uncomfortable. They've never met them before.
Mm-hmm. Right. That makes sense.
So close
Shane,
is good.
I wish we could
build rapport.
Yep. Yeah. I was going to say, I wish we could talk longer, but we are bumping up against time. So I'll have to wrap up this conversation. This session was recorded and will be shared afterwards. Everyone who registered for this will receive a follow-up email with a link to the recording, which will be posted in our resource center along with the other past workshops. And before we jump out of here, I just want to let you all know that a great sequel to today's session is happening tomorrow at the same time. Liz, our Director of Strategic Account Management, is going to be presenting along with Nat from All Street Design. And they are going to be talking about providing the ongoing value to your clients. And so if you are not signed up for that session yet, we encourage you to do that. If that's something of interest to you, you can sign up for it at that URL there at the bottom. And Shane, I just want to thank you again for being on. This is great information. I'm excited to go out there and have some of these conversations. And, I think this is great information, and it's something that I certainly have gotten excited about. So thank you so much for being on, especially at 2 a.m. your time. We really appreciate it.
Okay, that was great, Brian. Thanks so much. Give love to everyone out there and have fun.
I will definitely do that. Thank you, Shane. And my last plug real quickly, remember that we have the brand new Duda University platform out there. So you can check that out at university.duda.co. And we'll be continuing to deliver more great content there. So always be checking back often to see what's new. Everybody have a great rest of your day, or great start of your day for you, Shane. And we hope to see you tomorrow on tomorrow's workshop.
Fantastic. See ya.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.